So let me try to start the recording. Okay, so hi, my name is Ridwan Abdulazeez. I'm one of the mentors on this program, right? And we are going to continue from where we stopped yesterday, right? So yesterday we had some basic understanding of software testing. What are the importance of software testing? The concept of quality assurance, quality control, and testing itself. Then we also mentioned about some software testing terminologies, right? So from what we had yesterday, we now know why do we actually need to test, right? So we test for us to be able to we test for the purpose of finding issues. We are not testing to say that there are no issues. So I will just do some few minutes just so today from what Adenike mentioned yesterday, right? So you needed, what's it called? You needed a seat. Oh no, let's say you wanted to have your wedding, right? And you've given a specification to the tailor, to the person who's going to make the dress for you, right? This person had made the dress, and he told you some days before your wedding that your dress is ready. Are you going to try that dress on your wedding day or before your wedding day? Let me see your answers in the comment section. When would you try to test this dress? Is it on your wedding day or before your wedding day? Let me see your answers in the chat section. Before the wedding, before the wedding. We all know one thing, that most times these dressmakers, they come with a whole lot of surprises. They will surprise you negatively. Not most times it's not positive, right? So they surprise you negatively. So because you want to avoid these surprises, right? You test your dress before the wedding. So it's just the same way with software testing. So when you have a wedding, you test your dress before the wedding day. So now for a software, so that was actually mentioned to you yesterday, that software testing is just what we do on a day-to-day basis. But it's just that most times we do not see it that way. Or because we are coming new into the field, you start hearing some jargon, you start getting confused. Don't be confused. Just know that what you're doing is just you are acting the way you've always acted, nothing new. It's just you now adding some flavors, adding some nomenclature to what you've always done prior to now. In this stream, right? Okay, let me also give an example. You have what's it called? You are trying to make a dress. So you are trying to cook a meal, right? While trying to cook this meal, you are trying to check the salts, if it's well salted, your seasoning, are they fine, right? Then you understand. So if assume you've gone to what's it called, a restaurant, right? They have somebody who is trying to make these dishes, right? They have a standard protocol. That is why when you go to a McDonald's, right? Good. The same tastes, they achieve consistency over time. So in that point, the point of the ensuring that that same thing is done the same way over time, that is the control. That is the control. So now ensuring that that meal serves you. It's not that today you test it looking like McDonald's. Tomorrow you start tasting like chicken and Chicken Republic. Next tomorrow it start tasting like tasty fried chicken. So that control is what had been put in place, right? Then you have somebody. So before they came to having a control, they've actually had this recipe being made and has been tested by some individuals. That is where you come in, right? Come to say, oh, I've tested. Oh, this is fine. This is okay. This is good to go. It's properly salted. So in that process of you ensuring that there's a recipe in that consistent manner, that is testing. Oh, this recipe, what you made now, I think it has a little more salt and stuffs like that. I don't know if you are understanding what I'm saying. I would like to see your response in the chat if I've not confused you yet. Okay, so we'll jump into this class, right? I hope you can still see my screen. I have so end of yesterday's class, we spoke about quality control, quality assurance, and testing. Right? So now we are going to move to what we are expected to do today. We are going to be discussing the principles of testing, of software testing types, software testing process, and we'll also be discussing shift left testing. So without wasting much of our time, let's jump right at it. There are 7 principles of testing. There are 7 principles of testing. I would want to implore you, I would want to beg you. You know, like some videos you see that wait till the end, right? For you to see the main, these are the main, these are part of the main course of the meal. These are you have the main course, this is the main course. If I tell you that I've interviewed people who have 5 years experience, 7 years experience, to tell me principles of testing in an interview and they failed it, because why? They don't understand this concept from the very beginning. It will shock you that people did not get jobs because they don't even know these principles of testing. So please, I need your attention. Like, I'm very passionate about speaking about this. So we have 7 principles of testing. So these are just the bullet points. The full text will come in the slides afterwards, right? We have testing shows the presence of defects. So there's this saying that we only complain when things do not go right. The ideal thing is things should go right. So in my wedding dress, right, I was expecting, so let us assume as an African man, I have an agbada for my wedding attire. In my agbada, I needed to have space. I needed to have some pockets left and right. Because why? The family of the wife, the bride, they would be asking for money. So, and I need to have different pockets so that I know, oh, at this point I have $100. In this pocket I have $1. In this pocket I have $50. So, right. the day I'm checking my dress, right? I'm checking to see that all of these pockets are there. I'm not just checking that that dress looks fine. I'm checking all of these specifications, right? So I'll get to speak more about this in the next few slides. Exhaustive testing is not possible. We test. Okay. I'm going to say something in course of the class, and you all would agree with me. We have early testing, right? It saves costs. I don't know if you've seen some news about Toyota recalling some vehicles because they noticed some issues. So do you know that if they had caught those issues at the early phase of trying to manufacture probably just the brakes, it wouldn't get to production? Do you know how much it's going to cost them to recall these vehicles? Some of these vehicles, they've left their plants. These vehicles have started customers have started driving these cars. It's a whole lot of cost for them. So there's no gimmicks about it. When you test early, it saves cost. Defects clustering, right? When we talk of defect clustering, it's more like you have a fish. You have a fish, right? Fresh fish, and you start seeing flies coming to it. So that is how defects look like. They cluster around together. Like most times, they are always around the same place, right? There's something we call pesticide paradox. You try to use the same approach over and over. I'll discuss about this more into details. Texting is context dependent. For people that were in the class yesterday, I mentioned this. Texting is context dependent. You are testing a fintech application. You can't test a fintech application the way you are going to test a Boeing 737. You would not test an hospital device the way you are testing a software that is going to work for an accountant. Do you understand? They are different contexts. So when you test, you are testing in that realm. So testing is context dependent. Absence of error. Hey, this application is bug-free, error-free. It is what? A fallacy. It doesn't exist. So now let's jump right into it. So at the beginning of the class, I mentioned that testing does what? Testing shows the presence of defects, not their absence. So the reason we are testing is not for you to prove a point to us that this application is bug-free. You are testing to tell us that there are defects. So what is your job? Your job as a tester is to look for defects by exploring all possible scenarios possible. Yeah, exploring all possible scenarios possible. Exhaustive testing is impossible. Like that. So for some of you who do not understand vernacular, testing no dey finish. Testing does not get finished. You keep testing. That is why even yesterday Adenike was mentioning waterfall. If you've ever been to a waterfall or you've never been to a waterfall, you know that a waterfall, ideally, it drops into stages. You have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6, level 7, and stuff like that. That is how. So in software development, we have what we call waterfall model, and we have the agile or iterative model. So even as at when your product had gotten to production, you still test. That is what we mean by testing, no dey finish. Like exhaustive testing is not possible. So even after you've deployed to production, you still have to test. So what kind of test? So the tests that you now do on production might now be somewhat limited. So now let's proceed. Like I said, early testing saves time and money. So you start testing as early as the time you are doing your requirement gathering. As early as the time you are doing your requirement gathering. You would not wait till that product had gotten to production before you start testing. So when you are able to detect these issues, right? When you detect them earlier, it helps you reduce the cost. Just like I gave the example of, imagine a Toyota brand. It has happened over the years that they had to recall some vehicles. Boeing 737, or I think it was Boeing 737, and aircraft having to recall some particular models. So you could imagine the cost that it's going to take, that you've already sold this, you've already even announced to your shareholders that, oh, we made so profit, only for you to find out at the end of the day that what you declared profit for, there is issue. We have to recall. Customers we have to pay them. We have to give them a newer product. So you should try to imagine, put yourself in the seat of a business owner and see how painful this would be. And I mentioned defects, right? They cluster together. So most times, right? A small module of an application contains most defects during testing, right? So what is this module? I'm just a layman. Don't bombard me with English. Here, we won't be bombarding you with jargon that you don't understand. What do we understand by a module? So I want to assume every one of us have a banking application, right? In our banking application, when you log in, you have your dashboard where you see your account balance and some few other things. Then you have a place where you do what? Where you are able to do transfer. So let us take transfer as a module. You are able to do transfer. You're able to do transfer within your bank and outside your bank. So now when we discuss that defects cluster together, I could have an issue on transfer service, and I don't have issues on bills payments. That is, I want to top up my airtime, I want to buy bills, I want to buy recharge card and stuff like that. So most likely the issue might just be within transfer service. That is where we are discussing defects. They do what? They cluster together. Am I making sense? Can I see responses on the group? Okay. Thank you. So I'll proceed, right? So it said, beware of pesticide paradox. So let me discuss this in an interesting fashion, in an interesting manner. So over the years, you've always, I would use roaches, right? I'll use rats for an example. You bought a rat gum. That rat gum was able to catch one rat. The second rat that sees his colleague, his fellow, being caught, do you think he's going to, when he sees that gum, do you think he's going to pass through it again? That is why most times the rat gum always just catch one rat, maximum two. And the next thing, no matter the number of rats in your house, it's never going to catch anyone again. Do you agree with me? So that is what we meant by pesticide paradox, right? So over the time, when you run the same test, so now let us bring it down to software testing. So today, I've done transfer service. I've done transfer for Nigerian, okay, for African customers, right? I think Access Bank cuts across a lot of countries. I've done transfer to Access Bank. I'm doing Access Bank Nigeria. I'm not taking out of scope. Access Bank Nigeria, I've done it once. I've done it the second time. I've done it the fourth time. So I noticed an issue. The issue was fixed. I keep doing Access Bank transfers. Do you think that test would catch a new bug? It's not going to catch a new bug because I've tested this over time. So the approach that we are using for testing needs to also evolve. So now you have transfer. You've done validation to ensure that you're able to transfer to Access Bank. Now, you used a valid account number, right? You've tested. So when you are doing the same thing over and over, most likely it's most likely not going to catch any new bug. You should expand your search to something else to ensure that you're able to catch new bugs. That is why it is advisable. Though some of these jargon, please don't mind me, you'll still discuss it. That is why it is advisable to update your test cases so that you're able to get something new, right? So testing is context dependent, right? The approach, there is no one way. So these fundamentals you're learning is just to guide your mindset. It's just to guide your mindset. It's just to guide your mindset. Firstly, the way you test in a fintech application, you don't test like that in a gaming application. You don't test like that in a mission critical, in a weather forensics application. Okay, let me even drop that. The way you test an application that is being used in an airport is not the way you test a fintech application. Because for the airport, right, that screen you see where it gives you time, imagine that there is an issue with that software. Please, just imagine what would have gone wrong. It's going to be chaotic. Imagine your flight that is supposed to happen for 5 p.m. and the timer you are seeing on your display is showing you 7 p.m. And you were right to say that, yeah, it was 7 p.m. You're going to pay for it. So the level of seriousness also is also about the context you're testing. Imagine you testing a bomb, the accuracy of a bomb, a rocket, and you are having issues with 0 point something. Do you know you are going to kill people unjustly? So imagine you are testing a rocket and you are having errors, 0 points. The location you are testing for is wrong. Do you just imagine the chaos? This is where you come in. So don't just think, hey, it's just software. Software is part of our day-to-day activities now. From the very minute thing to the largest thing you could think of. Your mobile phone has an operating system. It is a software. Your banking app is a software. A lot of us today, because we are busy at work, I can't go to the mall. I want to order things online. I use Amazon. I use Jumia. I use Konga. These are software solutions. A software tester needs to test this application from the organization end before what it is available for you to use. I'm not sure if have I mistaken anyone yet? Have I mistaken anyone yet? Additionally, it's not content dependent, it's context. Context. The context at which you are testing is not content dependent. Context. CONTEXT. The context you are testing is very important. Right. So I'll proceed. Right. Absence of errors is a fallacy. Now, you know, I said I was going to say something. Now, I want to speak like a user. Why is it that my Bible app, my Quran app, they keep updating it? Is there new content coming from Apostle Paul? Or is it that the Quran, that God is giving Prophet Muhammad new verses to be added? Why is my Quran app being updated? Why is my Bible app being updated? Haven't you thought about it before? So the reason why they are updating is not the content now. It's about some issues, some usability issues within the app. So then I feel like, why is Microsoft updating this app? When you use Microsoft Word, you feel like, oh, this application is perfect. However, there are some issues some people are noticing because of their environmental factors, which you are not noticing, which you are not seeing. Does not mean that there is no bug in Microsoft Word. WhatsApp, most of us use WhatsApp. WhatsApp has a lot of bugs, especially if you're an iPhone user. You'll be watching status of Mr. A. You go to status Mr. B, you'll be seeing Mr. A status. Am I lying? Those are bugs. Those are issues. So when you are testing, there is no application, that there is no error in this application is a lie. They've not subjected it to what will break it. That is just it. And yesterday, if you recollect, he was mentioning something around edge cases, right? These are extreme conditions. So the first time YouTube video was going to have 1 billion views, I think it was this music, Opa Gangnam Style or so. It was the first video on YouTube to break 1 billion. The kind of data type they were using, I think, was an integer, and it had a max. So immediately it got to 1 billion, YouTube just crashed. Because of what? It wasn't that the application wasn't working all this while, but because it got to a value that they never expected. In the year 1999 to year 2000, a lot of applications had to change some certain things because of how their dates and their date calendar used to work. So because 00 before used to be 1900, but the year we're going to get close to year 2000, are we going to have 2 years with 00? Stay with me, don't get lost. So no bugs doesn't mean that you have a good product. It's just testing. Testing is about ensuring the right product is built and what it is built for. So imagine today you become the owner of UBA Bank. You are the MD of UBA Bank. And your customers are transferring from UBA to Access Bank. Access Bank is getting value for that money, and UBA account is not being debited. And you are giving out money. Your customer's account is not being debited. Rather, they are debiting your GL. Are you going to be happy? So that is where we are discussing that your product is working right? And it works as it is intended. Not those that you are proving that, there are no bugs. There are no bugs here. There are no bugs here. You are looking for bugs. You're trying to ensure that your application is bug free or minimal bugs, right? Apart from that, apart from the bugs, is that you are also ensuring that the reason why it was built, is working as expected. Any confusion yet? If I've confused you, please just drop a comment. It's only one person that is on this class that is responding via the chat. I need to be sure that you guys are with me. I have not left you behind. Okay. More responses, please. Okay. 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 So those are the 7 principles of testing. So as much as possible, right, I try to not just give you word for words, but try to explain to you what it is in real world scenario. So a lot of times I do not believe in reading word for word, right? I need you to be able to understand in your own context, right? How you work on a day-to-day basis. So let's proceed. Now we are going to be discussing software testing types. Don't get lost. Please, if you are watching WhatsApp status, you are watching some TikTok videos, please drop them. We are getting to interesting part of our classes now. Functional, non-functional. What do we mean? These things are just English language. I need you to understand the context, the reason behind these words, so you won't just get lost in the middle. Please stay focused. Stay focused. Focus. Don't lose concentration. We have functional testing and non-functional testing. So before I discuss the items under functional testing and the non-functional testing. So you bought a brand new Toyota Corolla 2025 model. Right. The first thing, after you bought fuel, you bought gas into it, you start the car moves. As the car achieved its first main purpose, as that car achieved its first primary purpose of moving you from point A to point B, as it achieved that purpose. So that moment, right, we are discussing functional testing. We are doing what? Functional testing. So under this functional testing, we have unit testing, integration testing, user acceptance testing, localization testing. Don't be worried. Just calm down. In the next 5 minutes, you will understand all of these bits. Believe you me. Now, what do you understand by unit testing? So, for that your Toyota Camry just bought, it has a windshield, right? It has an ignition. It has the fuel pump. It has the water pump. It has the wipers. So cars have open roof. It has seats that you are even seated on, right? So testing each of these things, testing the windshield, right? You test the windshield. You test the wiper. You test the seats that, this foam, how long, what density is this seat? Is it comfortable? I try to adjust the seat's ergonomic settings. Is it comfortable for me? What are you doing? You are testing each of the units. Somebody that owns the car is already speaking, the side mirror. Do you understand? You start testing one by one before it is being coupled into what? A final product. Now, let us get to software testing. Don't let us leave software testing for being a car dealer in Ladipo market. Now, for software testing, what do you understand by unit testing? Unit testing, ideally, primarily, is the work of a software developer. He is trying to give you an endpoint, right? He ensures that that endpoint satisfies XYZ conditions. So just like you are testing the side mirror, testing the form of the seat, testing the ergonomics of the chair and all of that. Are we still together? Don't get lost. Don't get lost. We would discuss this granular. So now we have what we call integration test. What is this integration test? Don't get lost. Now, for integration testing, you have that side mirror, you have the carcass of that car, right? You have the bumper. You are not trying to bring the seats. Does this fit in? The headrests, is it properly set? You try to put the side mirrors. You are not doing what? Integration. You are trying to integrate them into the Corolla. Are we lost yet? That is, we are trying to integrate. When we now do integration, there's something else we also call system testing. We are now also trying to test that, the engine that I'm using, can it power all of these things? You know, we have a V4 engine, we have a V6 engine, we have a V8 engine, and all of this. So the reason why you have all of these capacities differently is because what can it carry? That is integration. So we know that, the power of this side mirror is also capacity in terms of the power it's going to consume, the AC of this car, all of these things. The terrain we are actually planning to sell this car, we're selling it to Canada, we're selling it to the cold region. We are now doing it, integration and system testing. That I said, don't be bothered about this English. Don't be bothered, you get that. The next thing, we talk about localization. This localization is just a very simple one. You go to a website today when we say localization, generally, bringing it down, you go to a DHL.com today. When you go to DHL.com, you try to localize where you are coming from. You select your region. I'm from Nigeria. So I'm trying to track a package in Nigeria. That is localization. I've gone to a website in the UK, no, in France. I went for love. I went to Paris. When I got to Paris, I'm trying to browse a website, right? It's written in French. I don't understand French. English. So the moment you're trying to change the setting of the language to Nigerian setting, to English, is what we are doing localization, ensuring that what it is. So when you're doing localization, most times you have to understand both ways. So there are different areas where we talk about localization, but this is just another context where you should understand that you're testing that it works within this area. So now you have a car that is built for Saudi Arabia. No, don't let me use Saudi Arabia, for Qatar. That is an hot region, right? And you are trying to test that car the same way you will be testing for a car that is meant to be used in Canada. Are they the same? Are they the same thing? Are they the same? They are not. They are far apart. So let's proceed. Non-functional testing. I mentioned the functional part of the car moves. So now, for the non-functional bit of it, this car is supposed to carry, okay, let's assume it's kind of a solar car that has just 2 passengers. I'm now trying to bring in my family members into the car that is a 2-seater car. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to load that car. I'm trying to stress that car. It's now start saying things like load testing, stress testing, usability. So now you have some cars that we call convertibles. We have some, I'm going to attend to you shortly. We have some cars that we call convertibles. So when we see convertibles, right, at the 2 seats, you could actually open it and you do this, right? You bring it back to a normal car. Right? You are trying to do what? Usability. You are also trying to see how it scales over time. Now let us bring this down to software testing. Now, when we talk of load testing, I think I mentioned yesterday, this is a practical scenario. The first year that we started Black Friday in Nigeria, that year, Jumia site crashed for about 3 to 4 hours because the kind of load that hits them that day, they never had such before. So we know that my capacity is that I want to admit, okay, our users are going to be 100 users, 100 concurrent users. Now, instead of having the 100 concurrent users, should I just limit myself to 100? Should I try to add more than 100? Add 150. So ideally, my number of users is what? 100, right? So the moment I try to stress my application to ensure that it should, instead of just taking 100, try to accept 500. You are trying to load tests. When you are loading a test, you are trying to see how it works. And you are trying to stress it to see at what point will that application break. Are we together? When you stress, you are trying to see at what point I have added 1,000 users. Immediately I added 1,000 users, everything started error 500, server unavailable, memory maxed out. Are we still together? So most times so there are some terms and terminologies that are closely related that you should be able to demystify them. Things like load testing and stress testing. You should be able to, when you have beans, right? You remove the beans, you remove the shafts. So you should be able to remove the shafts. So try to understand the load and the stress. You are trying to increase to a point where it breaks. You want to know at what point does it break. So the next thing, we are talking about usability. So, I mentioned that, okay, this car is supposed to be used in Canada, right? So the car I should use in Canada should generate it for me internally, not more of it just cooling me off, right? So probably during the summertime, it should cool, but ideally, I should ensure that at the very first instance, it shouldn't just ensure that I'm feeling cold, whereas there's cold outside. So my car should be able to keep me warm. So now for scalability. So we have, let me use an analogy, then I'll bring software in. We have this my office setting to accommodate 20 people seated. It shouldn't go beyond that. So do I have provision that if I have more than 20 people, is there space for them to sit? That is me doing scalability, creating space to accommodate more. You are ensuring that your project, your product is scalable over time. Now, let's bring it down to software. The day that, okay, let's use a Wema Bank today. Wema Bank, I think Wema Bank is celebrating 3 years of being in service, satisfying the customers, right? Now, imagine that in that 83 years, they never had room to scale up their process. They don't have room because at the initial point, they have 1 customer, 2 customers, they got to 1 million. So as their customer base kept on increasing, they kept on scaling up their infrastructure. They kept on scaling up their software process. Do you understand? That is, you are increasing. While you are increasing, you are not disrupting the process. Are we still together? So, and we have the load time, right? I'm going to attend to you, Shukrat. I'm going to attend to you. Just let me finish with this slide, then I'll take your question. So for the load time, you'd notice that there are some websites, right, that when you try to access them, it takes a long time for you to some of it, you want to be sure that when I'm accessing this application, it's fast to respond to me. It is fast to respond. It is fast to respond. Do you understand? So now, by doing this, you have to ensure that you have. So I've been in an environment that a developer mistakenly put an icon that is supposed to be 20 kilobytes, 30 kilobytes. He went to take the whole image itself as an icon, and the icon was about 50 MB. So whenever you want to try to access that page was unnecessarily slow. That is one of the work of a software tester. You need to understand what's going on. This particular page is slow. What are the queries behind it? What could have led to why it is slow? Are we together? So, Adeshola, your hand is up.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Ridwan, and hi, everyone. I just want to understand one of the functional testing. I think I didn't get that part clearer. The user acceptance. I wouldn't know if you have explained that, but I didn't get that part clearly. Thank you very much.
Okay. So for user acceptance, I think I missed that. So for user acceptance, so you have this car. Okay. I'll take a case where Elon Musk was trying to showcase his armored vehicle. It happened, I think, less than 3 or 4 years ago. He actually picked an item and stole the armored vehicle, and the armored vehicle shattered, the glass shattered. Before he got to that stage that he was going to showcase it to the world, a user acceptance test must have been done. You, the owner of that product, would sign off that this product is now working up to the expectation. It's working up to expectation. That is user, like it sounds, user acceptance testing. So, yesterday, Danica was mentioning functional testers. She was mentioning some people saying some people are manual QAs. There's absolutely nothing like manual QAs. Now, let me just break the table once for all. You cannot be a good automation tester, the so-called automation tester, without knowing manual testing. I can bet it with you. Bank it anywhere in the world. You cannot be a good automation engineer without having proper understanding of software, of manual testing, the so-called manual testing, which is a functional. So when we discuss the principles of testing, right, these are the things we are discussing around testing. You should know what to check out for. You should know what is right and what is wrong. But somebody who's just let me write the code, it can never. And these codes will not catch new bugs for you. It is only supposed to work based on. So I want to build a banking app today, and you are writing automation. Automating what? Do you know how to go the step by step? And let me just call it Anne. Your question.
Yeah, safe to call me Anne. Hi, Mr. Ridwan. So I was wondering, based on what you said about the load-bearing test and the stress test, does it work hand in hand with the scalability test? Because if you are using that test to stress the system or the product to know, or the app or whatever it is, to know how far you can stretch to accommodate maybe more than what it has been specified to accommodate, then shouldn't that also be something that can be used for a scalability testing?
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, understood. So now you mentioned. So I mentioned that there are some certain things that that look closely related, right? And understanding and demystifying it is very important. Now, when you are talking about scalability, now you've done a load test, right? When you've done this load test, you realize that when I get to 1,000, the application breaks, right? Now, you pass this information to your development operations team, the DevOps team. Now they are trying to increase the resources for you. They're trying to increase the server capacity and capability to be able to scale up. And okay, instead of we using a one core system, we are doing what's it called? We are doing load balancing. We are trying to share the load. If this server is down, it moves to the other server. So those are part of scalability. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
So that's why. So one thing I would want you to know, don't cram the jargon, don't cram the English. Live in it. See it as a lifestyle. Understand it. When you understand it, the whole other things will just be, yeah. So I can imagine myself that there was one time I used to read to understand what unit testing was about and stuff like that. So I'll proceed. Aha, shift left testing. We are coming to a very interesting part. You know, I mentioned that early testing does what? It saves what? It saves costs. Didn't I? Example. You have a software product, a banking product that, okay, in your bank, I'll take Nigeria as a case study. We have our banking app today. Then CBN says that from midnight today, midnight today, you should start charging a 15 naira stamp duty. Stamp duty to do today. Or let's say they give you a 2 weeks gap for you to implement. That's why most times they give those gaps. They ask you to charge a 15 naira stamp duty. If you do not charge the stamp duty, we are going to debit your position. Immediately from the CIO call, the CIO does call the developers, guys, we need to start charging stamp duty. And the product is supposed to go live this night. And you found out that what you were charging was, let's say, it was above 15 naira, or you were charging the customer, you thought you were charging the customer's account because you were seeing money dropping into the account that you are going to transmit to CBN, right? But ideally, the customer's account was not being debited. Do you understand? The customer's account was not being debited, but you are seeing 50 naira into that your pool account that you're sending to NIPS, to CBN. Now, when we talk about shift left, like it is, you start early. Rather than you waiting for the product to be built, you start testing at the early phase where we are doing what? The requirements gathering. When you are doing what? The requirements gathering. So the time your project manager, your product owner is pitching these ideas to you guys, what are you doing? You are trying to record to say, okay, this product is supposed to work on 3 channels, mobile, on 2 mobile platforms, both iOS and Android. Those are supposed to work on web. You start asking right questions that nobody going to answer, or he did not think about it in that direction. So because you have started asking, okay, how will customers who do not have a smartphone, you as a tester, those are the things you start asking. For customers who do not have a smartphone, how do they go about it? You want to do facial recognition application. What of customers who are blind? Their 2 eyes are shut. How about customers who has 1 eye? Do you understand? So you start testing early. So you do not wait till the product. And now, there's something we call TDD, test-driven development. What do we mean by test-driven development? Test-driven development is speaking to wait before a product, a software product is being built. You, the tester, are the ones that you would have written your test cases first after the requirement gathering and stuff, the design phase where you design your test cases, when you write out test cases, imagine scenarios and all. At that point, your test cases will be the Bible that the developers would use to develop the application. So you'll be working hand in hand with the product owner and the project manager and the business owners for them to validate that the scenarios you have written are fine. That is test-driven development. Are we lost? So test-driven development is an act of shift left testing. You start testing on. I'm happy that nobody's lost yet, because these things are very essential. They are absolutely essential. Don't have the goal of becoming an automation engineer without understanding these things. I will tell you for a fact that you are going to be building a house on a plain floor without a foundation. Just believe in me. I can argue it anywhere in the world. So on this shift left testing, you could see the acceptance testing, integration testing. So you could see like it's a pyramid, right? You see, at the initial point, the unit test, you could see there are a lot of things, a lot of modules. Your side mirror, your seat, there were a whole lot of things. Your exhaust, your catalyst, your everything within the car, right? You are testing them one after the other. Okay, you want me to explain the TDD again? Okay, I will do that. You could now see at the point we are now integrating, we are integrating them into the car cards. We are doing our what? Integration test. After we've added the side mirror, we put the button for the side mirror and see that, oh, it is actually working. We put the one for the roof. Okay, it is actually opening and closing. Those are our what? Integration tests. Now it is ready. We now try to see if I move the car, the navigation system, is it working? Is the odometer working? We are now doing a system test. Now, the time that, oh, we are ready to launch this product, we are now doing what? An acceptance test. This I'm speaking to a car production. So the same way it works with our software solution. So is TDD the work of the developer or tester? TDD is the, so let me explain TDD again. Test-driven development. It doesn't mean that the testers are the one developing the application, but it only signifies that the developers, most times the developers will finish their work, they will call the tester, who I have built XYZ, come and test. We are changing the goalpost to say, I have written my test cases. Take the test cases and go and build that product to suit the test cases that are given to you. So this would not just be done by the software tester. It's going to be done in collaboration with the owner of the product. Who owns the product? Person say, oh, I and the tester have agreed. So the tester could write something, the product now say, no, it shouldn't work that way. So the test cases will be handed over to the developers in the Jira tickets. So the developers will build their application to ensure that all of the test cases that have been written works in that manner. Andrew, your hand is up.
Yes. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So what is a software that doesn't have a unit? Before we will not continue.
A software that doesn't have what?
That doesn't need accepting the unit testing.
It doesn't accept unit testing. Is that what you say?
There is no need of running a unit testing because it doesn't have a particles that parts that you can be able to access before running the
So what are we
integrating.
building?
Let's
What are we
let's
building?
let's example. Let's make a use of example of a bank app, or probably
Okay.
a software that is being used in the bank, like the BVM verification machine, which usually we call it ZF1. So let's assume
the machine itself, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I'm asking this question because I work in the bank settings, and this particular software was introduced as at last week.
Okay.
So we were asked to the guy installed it, and unfortunately it wasn't working to our expectations. Rather, it's not user friendly. And how do we be able to how does the engineers run it, confirming it that is okay before bringing it to the end users?
Okay, thank you. I'll respond to you. Thank God I have some little banking experience too. So there is something we call, please, like I said, this class is very important. And I'll be speaking some jargon that I need you to actually take notes. There's something we call alpha beta testing. Alpha beta testing. Some people call it A and B testing. Alpha beta testing. What do we understand by alpha beta testing? My name is Ridwan. I am the owner of Ridwan and Sons Testing Software Development Company. So let me first strike out what you said, that it is not possible to do. So they have done the unit testing when developing that app in their own organization. So at the point they were testing, before they came to your bank, they have done their alpha tests. Now they are coming to you to bring that, integrating that system into your own environment. So most ideally, before they even come to you as the final user, there should be what we call a POC, a proof of concept, where your IT team would try with some specific users to ensure that, oh, this software that you brought, right, is it working in our environment? It could be that in your environment, they have disabled Java runtime, and that application needs Java runtime to work. It's going to be working at their end, right? But in your own environment, it's not going to work because your administrator has disabled Java runtime. In their own environment, Java runtime is enabled. Is it that the application is not working? You understand?
Yes,
the application is actually working.
Yes.
But in your own environment, because your environment has a specific, a unique way your environment is and scheduled, that application would not work in your environment until they now approve Java runtime to work in your environment. Doesn't mean that the application does not work the way it should work. So before they even gave birth, before they could even tell you to say, oh, come and buy this solution, they have done this integration, they have done this test in their own environment. So they are the alpha testers. They have their own testers in their own environment who are the alpha testers, ensuring that this is a third-party application. The owner, the proprietary owner of that software is testing in his own environment. That is alpha testing. Now, when we are selling out to other users, their own users testing our products is beta testing. Do you understand?
Yes.
So now that solution, it's not like they've done all of the testing process. What you are doing is more of user acceptance. You want to accept it into your environment. User acceptance and POC in some environment would kind of look alike together because you are trying to do a proof of concept that this application would work. Because now you wouldn't imagine that BVN reader, right, would be deployed to Zamfara. will be deployed to Enugu. They would start with the head office users, most likely, or people that are close to the head office. They start with the head office, they start shipping to branches very close so that they can manage the expectation by the time they roll out to these 5 locations. Am I making any sense here?
Yes, sir.
So the process of testing that application, that interfaces, reads your fingerprints, all of those things, they have done the software development lifecycle. Now, let me see where we are. I'll try to, if we have a lot of time, not a lot of time, but I'll try to discuss something before the end of the class. So let's continue with our slides. So we want to discuss about test process overview. It's an overview. We have what we call performance testing. We measure the responsiveness and stability. We measure the responsiveness and stability. So now look at this performance test has 3 items, right? Load, stress, spike. Load, stress, spike. Now, in our organization, I mentioned that we have 100 users. That is our expected load. Now, we want to try it with 1,000 users. That is extreme condition, right? Then the next one is we want to spike it up to 2005 within 1 second. Do you understand? We are trying to do what? We are trying to change, to suddenly move the number of users to 2005 in space of 1 second. That is spike testing. So at times we try to ensure we manage spike, because spike at times could just bring down your environment, your what's it called, the environment. Because for those that are into crypto, you'd always see that line that looks like the line of life. So it could be that Donald Trump says, going forward, I am banning cryptocurrency all over the world. What would happen? Panic. Everybody logs in. They want to sell the dip. The dip should go deeper, right? So at that point, you see that the number of loads that you would see would be more than your regular. So things like that could cause a spike. Then we have our security tests, right? Where we ensure that we test for vulnerabilities, we ensure data protection and all of that. So for security testing, we are ensuring that our what's it called? Our products is free from vulnerabilities. It's free from vulnerabilities. Now we also have compatibility testing, where we ensure that this application works across different devices. For people who work in the what's it called? In the banking sector, you'd realize that there are some applications they will tell you that it only works on Internet Explorer, right? So things like that, happens, right, then so when you do compatibility tests, so when they've told you that this application works on Internet Explorer only, that means if you try it on Mozilla Firefox, you try it on Chrome, it would not work. So they've warned you ahead that this thing is not going to do what? It's not going to work. Then we have reliability testing, where we confirm the consistent performance of our application over time. The next thing we'll be talking about is scalability testing. When we talk about scalability testing, how do we handle growth in our workload, right? How do we manage it? So if we are to have, okay, let me discuss this like this. For some of us who uses a Windows PC, they will tell you that this PC cannot take more than 16 gig of RAM. That means if there is anything that would make you need 32 gig RAM to run an application, you will need to buy a different system. Do you agree with me? That means that system is not scalable beyond 16 gig RAM. So in building your solution, right, you are ensuring that your solution is able to say, okay, if we are growing to 1,000 users, we're going to 5,000 users, our system is able to actually accommodate this growth over time. We have accessibility testing where we ensure that people, so part of accessibility testing, so for example, you have an application that is supposed to work, that is supposed to have a mouse over read, where people who have a big disability with their eyes, they could actually use your application. There are applications like that. I've mentioned localization and international testing validates the language and the region you're coming from. Maintainability testing. So we are ensuring that the new updates, access to updates. So when you're updating the application, so for example, if you're using an iOS, when you're updating at that point in time, that application is unusable until a finish is updating. That's part of maintainability testing. And portability testing is that we are able to move from one environment to the other. For a lot of maybe Nigerians, we know about porting of our, of our lines from MTN to Airtel to other network providers. So that's what portability, movement from one environment to the other. And Lima, yes, you get the recording on the chat on the WhatsApp group. And also, isn't that the same with LinkedIn? Scalability, you are ensuring that your system, if there is a need to go to 10,000 users, you are not actually doing 10,000 users currently, but if there is a need that you need one, okay, today, let's say a first bank have 10 million debit cards. They have the capacity to go to 20 million. That is scalability. It's not happening yet, but they would have made reservations to be able to ensure that that actually happens. It's not the goal. Do you understand? So it's not the same with the load. So like I said, some of these things are quite interwoven. When you're discussing this, you have to be discussing the other one with it. So at the moment that you've not scaled up, but you are saying that you have the capacity to scale up. Know that when you hit 1,000, after 1,000, all chips are down. So the next thing here, we're discussing test planning, right? So for this test planning, it requires thinking about how will you approach testing and what resources will you need, the product of this activity. So now, the product of this activity is a test plan, like the word sound. Test planning, right? You plan your test. Now, we have a transfer service. They told us, oh, we need you to be able to transfer money from Nigeria to Ghana only. Now, being the product owner, I come say, oh, we need to do a transfer service from transferring from Naira to cedis. So now, being the product owner, I'll come up with this conversation in our requirements gathering, that this is what we want to do. So because they involved you as a tester early, oh, nice. You start asking questions like, what are the modules? What are the channels? What are the means that this transfer is going to happen? Oh, the product owner says, I'm not sure, let me get back to you. It gets back to you, it's okay, we'll be doing mobile app. So the next question is, are we doing both iOS and Android? It says yes. Okay, what about our internet banking? Oh, and our internet banking is also two. We have the customers internet banking and the corporate internet banking. Are we also catering for that? It says yes. Oh, are we catering for USSD? So the reason why you're asking all of these questions is that you are trying to know what are the things you would test out for. You're trying to know that, okay, for this test, we'll be testing web, we're testing the internet banking, we're testing our corporate internet banking, we're testing iOS, we're testing Android, we'll be testing our USSD. So these things would do what? They would make you have the right things that you would need to test for. So that is what the test plan. So the test plan, you know how many testers will test this application. You know the duration is going to take. You know the tools that you need to use to test. Are we together? So these can be detailed or can be high level, depending on the context. And we said testing is context dependent. So the essence of this is that you have in your mind that, oh, these are the things that I would meet in course of testing. And we discuss about preventative, right? So that is, we are trying to control a situation before it actually occurs, right? So, and reactive testing. So we are preventing. So, we discussed something around security testing and stuff. So when you are preventing, right, you are controlling, you are ensuring that these actions do not happen. So for me now, I have, because at this point we are in our test phase, right? I try to, for my narration, I try to enter a whole textbook as a text. Oh, this text allows this. The next thing, so the moment that I discuss this, raise this as a bug for the developer, and it fixes it to say, okay, our narration text should not be more than 20 characters. You have prevented an issue that could happen on prod. So being reactive is that you are responding to issues once the software has actually been delivered. Oh, it was when we got to production, one customer said he imputed a whole textbook and we found out that our application was, now you are being reactive. So we'll discuss test monitoring and control. So test monitoring is an ongoing activity to compare actual progress with the expected results. So we have said, oh, we are testing XYZ. These are the items we are going to test, right? Then we are trying to know where we are, what we've tested, and the actual progress. So yesterday, Adenike mentioned things around requirement traceability matrix and some other things like that. So these are where these things come to play, where you check where you do test monitoring and control. So test control is an activity that responds to test monitoring, right? When things are going wrong or an action is being required. So we are testing and we notice some particular set of issues, right? The test control is you trying to respond to things that needs action, right? So we have our test analysis, right? So when we talk about our test analysis, this stage actually starts with carefully reviewing all the documents that describe what the system is supposed to do. So this may include requirement specification, system and architectural designs, detailed design documents, use cases, source codes. So you are doing what? You are reviewing the documents. You are reviewing the documents, right? Once you understand its test basis, what am I testing? You understand what you're testing. The next step is for you to identify the test conditions. So, in this case, I said that, okay, they said we're going to do a transfer from Nigeria to Ghana. So you identify to say, okay, we are going to test on corporate internet banking, mobile, customer internet banking, mobile app, iOS and Android, and USSD. You have been able to identify your test basis, and you now know the conditions. So the condition of USSD is definitely different from mobile banking. It's definitely different from internet banking. So then finally, you can create a bi-directional traceability between your test basis and the test conditions. Don't get lost. Don't get lost. You would not be lost. So now, when we say bi-directional, it's more like an arrow with two ends, right? Two ends. So you have a traceability matrix. You've written 10 test cases. These 10 test cases speaks to 3 test conditions. Now you are trying to ensure that, okay, I have tested this. What are the modules? What are the test conditions that I've tested? Right. So that is where the traceability matrix comes in. So a common way to represent this is through a requirement traceability matrix, which clearly links our requirement to the related tests, right? So now our test design. This stage is where you anticipate and define what the expected result should be for each test conditions you have outlined. This clearly understanding what success looks like before you even start running the test. So when you do a test design, as a tester cannot be lazy thinking, because most of these issues, right, you would have actually designed it in your head before the product even comes out. So you have your test conditions, you define your test cases even before the product is being developed. So we now have test implementation. Here, you turn your drafted ideas into a fully ready to use test cases. This means finalizing any remaining details, writing the actual test steps or test scripts, preparing or sourcing for test data. All of these grammar. Now, we want to cook want to cook fried rice. That is our idea. We want to cook fried rice. So because you already have the basis, that's the test basis. Your test basis is fried rice. What are the number of people that wants to eat this fried rice? Which is 5 people. Okay. So do you understand? You're already getting the test basis. Now, the time for you to now implement, you go to the market, you buy the rice itself, you buy the liver, you buy the thyme, you buy all of these ingredients that would suit into cooking the fried rice. Do you understand? So your test data are like all of these ingredients. So now you want to test an application, right? Your application you're testing for needs customer BVN. So you need to get either your environment, they mock a BVN for you, or they give you a pool of BVNs for you to test with. So these are test data. So for unit testing, I think we've discussed most of these. We discussed unit testing, testing individual modules / components in isolation. We test them as in isolation. The integration modules or systems work together correctly. Then system testing, the end-to-end verification of the complete system. Then acceptance testing, where we discuss that we validate the readiness of this product for our users. Then we mentioned our smoke testing, where we do our quick checks to ensure that our build is stable. We want to deploy our mobile banking to our customers. Immediately we deploy, right? Before we deploy, that build that we want to take to production, that we want to drop on App Store, we validate that it is ready for use. It's not that transfer service, when you do transfer, I start breaking. So the particular build that is ready, that is stable, is what you sign off on. That build 0111.2 is ready for deployment. The sanity test is that you immediately you've pushed your application to production or to a new environment, you quickly check that your functionalities are working after the change you have made. Yesterday, she mentioned about regression testing, that you ensure that when you have introduced, so somebody had complained of an issue, it got fixed. The process of you trying to test it again is retesting. Then the process of you testing the whole application that this fix does not break the existing build, the existing application, is what we call regression testing. Then we have user interface testing. So when I give you your mobile banking app for you to test on the app, ensure that the service is working and all of that, that is user interface testing, where you verify visual elements and interactions. Then for API, so the API, application programming interface, this is more like the back end. So today, as an individual, we all agree that we have skeleton inside of us, right? So this skeleton are our APIs, right? We have our nervous system that takes messages to our brain to tell us that it is time for you to do this. So that is the back end. That is the back end of things that you are saying that is actually happening on the interface. Then you have usability tests. You check for ease of use and navigation. At times you see some applications say, this application is not user friendly. What is that user friendliness? That is where you are checking usability tests, ensuring that so for example, you want to transfer to somebody, and the first question you were asked is that you should write the narration of the transfer. And I'm like, I've not even validated the name of the person. I've not even validated the bank. I've not validated the amount, and you're asking me I should enter my PIN to do what? So you questioning this process is you testing that yes, this is not right, this is not user friendly, and it needs to be reworked on. That is usability testing. So now let's talk about test execution. So this is the stage where we now execute all our test cases, right? It might not be everything at a go, because some tests might be that, oh, you're doing performance, somebody else might be doing the performance testing, but this can be done either manually or with the use of test automation tool, providing the test case have been designed and built as an automated test in the previous stage, right? Then we now talk about our test completion. So for our test completion here, loose ends are tied effectively and may not necessarily signify the end of testing. You know, we said it at the beginning of the class that testing does not get finished, right? So test completion activities may also be performed at project milestones, such as when a system is released, when a project is completed or cancelled, or at an intermediate milestone. So your test completion is that you are ensuring that, okay, everything is fine. You've moved your tickets to done, the build is ready. So at that point, you're saying that your test is completed. So what are our test completion activities? We are doing check-in. So this is the process of making sure that the right deliverables have been produced and sent to the right place. So like I said, you are having a sign-off, right? You're moving your tickets to done and all of that. So any unresolved issues, right? You raise different bugs, right? So those bugs, those items, right, that you've clearly, that you're moving over to the next iteration or sprint, right, you would have to state them out. So this ensures that nothing slips through the cracks. So these are some jargon you see in your during your testing career. You see things like testware, right? So what do we understand by testware? So the testware are test documents, to be your test script, your test data. So all of these, right, should be archived before the handing over, right? So when you're done with this, so you ensure that all of your test data, everything is fine before moving on to a next sprint. So our tests were our test documents, the test script, the test data, and whatsoever that was used in testing. So then we now have our handover. So the test environment of any test environment should either be closed down. So for some environments, if it's just a particular product, right, when they are done with the products, they shut down the environment. For some environments, it is continuous, so they don't shut down their test environment. So like we said, testing is context dependent. So in my own environment, we don't shut down our test environment. Some organizations shut down immediately, deployed the products to production, right? And yesterday, she also mentioned about sprint retrospective, where we discussed the things that went fine, the things that we didn't do well, and the areas for improvement in our general product, in our testing, our development, and every part of our product development. So I think that would be all for today. But so I'm going to open is sanity testing done? Is sanity testing majorly done on production? Okay, so for sanity testing, so some organizations, before you go to production, there's a beta environment, there is a replica. At times, some beta environments are using the same database with the production database, right? So you do your sanity test there to ensure that all of these functions are fine before. So your sanity test could also be done on your staging environment. So please, I agree to know that not everyone on this call have ever worked on a software project before. So I want to take about another 5 minutes to 10 minutes to break down some certain words. So in an environment, right, in your workplace, so your workplace is the environment, right? So you guys have, what's it called? You guys have a product you're working on. You have a playing ground, a playing ground for you. So imagine today you are supposed to test a financial application where you do transfers. You start asking me, am I going to be using my money? No. For testing purpose, no. They will create a playing ground for you to do what? To test that transfer. Test they can even give you 1 billion for you to test, because it's a test environment. So it is controlled. It is just within your environment. It is not going to another bank, right? So they give you that environment. So that playing ground is your test environment. So now, in this environment that we are talking about, in some organizations, let me give you the standard, right, that exists in most organizations. Some organizations have what they call dev environment, where the developers build, deploy their code, where the first system testing, integration testing is done, right? The system testing is done first time on that end, where it is also sometimes some test environments are available to the QAs. That is the ideal way. You test on dev environment. When you are fine, they promote it to a bigger environment called the staging environment. So that staging environment, you could now give it out to some other stakeholders that are not within your development team, probably a product manager or the likes of them. So that is day testing on your staging environment. Now, the next phase of it is the beta environment. The beta, some people call it pre-production environment, some people call it beta environment, where that build that is on that environment, if anything is wrong, you must escalate, you must shout it, because in the next 1-2 minutes or whatever time that they are deploying to production, it is that build that is in your beta or pre-production environment that makes it to the production environment. So if there is any issue on your pre-prod environment, beta environment, shout. Even though it is on dev staging, you have to shout. But if it has made it there, know that in the next build that you are pushing to production, your customers will start facing the same issues that you are seeing on that beta environment. So let's open the room for questions. If you have questions, can you raise your hands? So while the questions will be dropping, right? If there's any of you that is not following QualityTechies on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, please do so. This power-packed, because I will say it is power-packed training, is being sponsored, because I'm sure nobody is paying any dime for this time that we are spending here, right? Is being sponsored by QualityTechies. I didn't care, please kindly drop the LinkedIn link and the YouTube link also. So this video would also make it up to YouTube, right? So please kindly follow, kindly tell your friends, tell your friend to tell a friend to join and be part and parcel of this wonderful and rewarding session. So I think I have people's hands up. I have Anne. Okay. Anne,
Yeah, good evening, sir. Yeah, so I was just wondering, at what point do these testings come into play during the product development? Like, is it like before launch? What, like, are there like specific test before launch,
It is
during launch,
before
and after
launch.
launch.
Oh. It's before. So before the product, before they would even mention that want to launch, testing must be done. Like before it makes it to, we want to launch, if they are looking at a particular date to launch, different testing activities must have been done. It must have been done. You don't test, so we don't test on production to go and catch issues. You must have test on your plain environment. So now, okay, let me quickly paint this scenario. You have what's it called? You have transaction limits, right? And on your transaction limit, you are supposed to test for a 1,000. You are supposed to test for a 1 million, right? Are you going to be testing that 1 million on production environment with your money? And the maximum is supposed to be 5 million?
No.
Do you understand?
No. Yeah.
So they will create an environment for you within the organization for you to test with. So that is where your testing activities happen. So all of these grammar, before you, the customer, the final customer, because as it is now, you are just a consumer. But the staff of that organization, before it comes out to you, right, they have tested, they've done a lot of activities, performance testing, security testing, what have you, before it becomes a finished product that you, the user, will just download on Play Store or App Store.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Problem. Adeshola. Adeshola, your
Yes.
question, please.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. I just want to get a clarification on the ship left approach. Can we say that it enhances or supports early testing as well, based on your explanation?
Exactly.
Okay, I think, okay, that one is clear. And the second question is, when you're explaining the functional and non-functional testing, I can see under non-functional testing too, some of them are called performance testing. Is non-functional testing the same thing as performance testing as well? Some of the non-functional, can we call them performance testing in some cases as well?
They are different.
Okay.
So because I want to ensure that 1,000 people uses my application, does not mean that the application is not functioning. One person can use it and it is fine. Doesn't mean that that application is not functioning. So that I said, you should understand these things. You ensuring that your glass, your engine, the engine of your car starts up, is different from you running a 220 kilometers. It's starting, it can move, it can do the necessary things. Is the first thing. So now you putting pressure, you carrying 10 people in the car before the car shock absorber goes down is another kind of test. It's not that the car is not functioning, but you have decided to bring 10 people into the car and the shock absorber went down. It's a different thing. Do you understand? So your functional tests and non-functional tests are not the same. Your functional test is that, is the product working? Yes. Now the okay, your banking app today, part of when you download the banking app, when you log in, you're able to transfer successfully, right? Functional, we've marked that as functional. So non-functional, after you have transferred successfully, the application, when it said the time is supposed to show you success message, you now start dragging like 5 minutes before it now shows you successful message. Has the money gone to the destination bank? Yes or no? Additionally, has your money gotten to the destination bank? Yes or no?
No.
No, you are doing a transfer.
Okay.
You are transfer successfully, but you are waiting for success message on your phone. But it took time. It took like 2 minutes before you finally saw the success message. But the customer has seen the money. Has the money gone through or not?
It has went through.
That is your functional. Now that ripple effect that you did not get your response on time after the transaction was successful is born out of performance test, that the time it took for your response to come back to you, that the message, the transfer has been successful.
Okay.
So there are two different things, non-functional and functional. So non-functional, we mentioned usability. It could be that your text, instead of writing your name as Adishola Shukurat Shokweji, the thing just show ADES and left the other things. Is it that the application is not working? It is working, but your usability is faulty. Maybe because you've increased your phone screen size. Some tests are being cut off. Those are non-functional tests. That's why we call it non-functional.
All right, I understand that very well. Thank you very much. And my last question is under the preventive testing and reactive testing. Is there a situation where we can have both together? Like, how can a reactive testing insight inform a preventive testing improvement? In a situation where we are having to resolve multiple defects post-release, you and your QA team want to reduce a kind of similar feature to reoccur. How will you be able to analyze the reactive testing outcome, and also you adapt the preventive testing strategy accordingly?
So firstly is preventive and reactive. There are two things. Reactive is that it has already happened. So what you are doing is that when it has happened, right, you are now trying to prevent reoccurrence of it. That is where your product backlog is, your defect backlog. So, and in a standard environment, there's something we call known error database. So your known error database, for errors that you've encountered, for bugs you've logged, they keep it such that for going forward, when you are testing, right, as a tester, you retest those edge cases, those edge points where failures have happened over the time. That is you now trying to prevent the reoccurrence. You are actually being, it's not known error database, known error database. They call it K known error database, KED. So it's so these are not part of testing actually. It's under ITIL, where we mention known error database. So we ensure that we know things have happened, issues have happened before, and we try to prevent it from happening. So preventive is that before it even happened to your customers, you have caught it. So that is you ensuring you are doing a very good work when you have preventive, you've prevented an error from happening. For example, like I mentioned, you have a narration box. Your narration box can allow you to type a whole textbook and allow it, and you caught it on dev or staging environment. It didn't make it to production. You have prevented that bug from making it to production. But if it got to production and they come to you to say, oh, this thing happened on production, now you are being reactive to resolving the issue. So now for any test box going forward, you now start doing what? You start trying to check for that kind of error. At times, it could be that based on the fact that it allows you, even your back-end guy is not checking. The guy just allowed the whole thing, and immediately you just fired 1 million tests. The thing was trying to go to your database. The database guy did not even also have a check. Probably the guy just is a vaca. The thing just entered. Then you start having issues in your database. So that's about that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well understood. Thank you.
Yeah, Rejoice, you have your hands up.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for this amazing teaching. You're bringing it to our level indeed. I want to ask this very personal question and practical question. So at what point should one feel But let me put it this way: at what point is it healthy for one to feel confident, to start applying for jobs? Because there are so many terms to learn, there are so many things to learn. And honestly, personally, I've been reading. In fact, I have a textbook that I've been reading. And it's not like I'm trying to memorize them, because anytime I'm reading, at that point, it seems like I'm getting everything. But then when somebody like you now start teaching, it feels like I'm starting afresh. I have a CV. I don't even know if I'm even ready to start working. It's just a lot, so many things to learn. So I don't know. I don't know. When are we ready indeed to start, working or start applying for jobs? And then when we get the job, we're not going to have this imposter syndrome that, okay, we are not ready for that job that we got. Thank you, sir.
So, like I'll say, the very first thing is you need to bury that imposter syndrome. And when are you ready? That question is a very big question. But let me say it like this, right? You see, even in testing itself, we say that exhaustive testing is what is impossible, right? So when you said exhaustive testing, you cannot know it all. You like read. So the more I've heard something new that I've not heard before. Let me go back to the drawing board before I start looking for a job, before I start applying. Believe you me, in the next 2-3 years, you are still in the same space. So you need to fight it. You need to get a job to be able to even see this thing working. That is when you even appreciate what you've learned so far. Because if you keep learning without practicalizing, knowledge is just there. At some point, it just goes off because you are not actually practicalizing it. So at what point am I actually ready? So now let me tell you one pure truth. If you can learn these terms and terminologies, be able to speak to what software testing is, know why we do boundary value analysis, difference between verification and validation, load testing, you understand. And if somebody is asking you a question and you can respond, let me tell you for free that you are actually on your way to get your first job. No cap, like that is me being realistic with you. Because most times your first job or any job, not even your first job, they just want to see that you know the basics. So imagine I'm interviewing somebody who has 7 years working experience, and I'm asking you software testing principles. Is it that you've not been working for the past 7 years? You to reason it. It's not because you've not been working, but I want to be sure that you even know the basis of what you're doing. That's just it. So far you are comfortable that somebody asks you what are the principles of testing, what is this? You should be able to demystify, you should be able to break it down. And you could just be on, even if it is an internship, so far your regular job is there or something, just do it, just to have the experience so that by the time you're applying for a job, you are just on your way to getting that first job that will break the camel's back. That's how I'm going to say. So Adenike, are you here?
Much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Adenike, are you here? I think she's here, not here. So she's going to be dropping the videos. Going to be dropping the videos, and for people that have dropped their phone number, she's going to add you to the WhatsApp group, and be kind enough to follow Adenike Olapitan, follow Quality Techies on your social media, on your YouTube, subscribe as more videos will be coming, interesting mentors will be coming to speak about different things. I'm just one of the humble servants here to serve you guys. Thanks for having me. And I will say have a wonderful weekend because the weekend is already exhausted for so many of us. Have a good week ahead and as much as possible, try to learn all you could and the assignments too, try to attend to them and we shall see some other time. Have a wonderful day ahead and stay blessed.
Man,
Well,
thank you, sir. Thank you.
well done, Mr. Ridwan.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time and knowledge. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm not aware of any assignment given.
No. In course of the classes, you'll be given assignments. So,
All right. Okay.
so
Thank you
I'm not
very
supposed to
much.
attend to them.
Have a
Thank
beautiful
you.
new week ahead.
Yeah, you too. Bye.